Hi, this is Jeremy Skinmaker, Pre-Sales Technical Consultant for HP's Channel MPS Group. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about WebJet Admin and making a configuration template. Now, WebJet Admin has a lot of different features, but creating a configuration template is one that I use probably more often than others. So the idea here is that with HP devices, you can always change settings from the front panel or from the embedded web server, and that's not too bad. But if you have lots of HP devices, which we hope you do, then it can get really hard to do these one at a time. Okay, so WebJet Admin provides the capability to create a template which has all the settings that you'd want to change in there, and then you can apply that template to as many devices as you want, okay, all at once, and WebJet Admin manages pushing those settings out to multiple devices. So if you have a large fleet of devices and you want to make a security change or an energy setting change or even a time change, anything like that, WebJet Admin is a really helpful tool to be able to do that. Now, you can change the device one device at a time here in WebJet Admin as well. So if you're on a device and here in the All Devices view, you can go to the Config template or the Config tab right here, and then you can change the settings from here. But again, one device at a time is not super helpful. So we can create a template. So you'd right-click and click Create a Configuration Template. Now, I've already got one created here. I'm going to edit. Now, to start with, here in the template models, you have to decide what model you want to use. If you have old devices, you'll need to look for those one at a time, okay? So like the M525, you'd have to search for that and add it in. So if you've got a current set of devices, you'll have to search for them one at a time. If your devices are from about 2013 on, then we use what's called universal plugins. That's what UPI stands for here. And basically, it's a menu of options that we'll see later in the template based on the type of device it is rather than on the individual model. So here I've added an HP Enterprise MFP universal plugin, and the same thing with the network card. Okay, I've added an HP Enterprise network interface card. Okay, so now in my template I'll have a menu that applies to all HP Enterprise devices. So again, if you're doing this with newer devices, anything that's 20 or 13 or newer, it's going to be a lot easier. If you're using older devices, you have an older fleet, it's going to be a little bit harder to make that work. But you can still do it. So you just add whatever kind of devices you want. Let's say I've got both single function and multifunction devices. I click Next, and I move on. Okay, so I've created a template name called Network Settings, and you'll want to name the template. You can create folders of templates if you want to. That helps you keep track of what template does what. Now, in here, there's all kinds of different settings that you can do. In general, anything that you can configure in the embedded web server, you can probably configure in WebJet Admin. They may come with a little bit different name, and I'll show you an example that trips me up pretty often, is SMTP server. Okay, so if you're going to do scan to email, you want to put an SMTP server. So you'd look through the digital sending settings, and you wouldn't find it, right? Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. It's called outgoing servers. Okay, outgoing servers, and you can put here an outgoing email server and fax server and alert servers, auto send server, whatever. But you can. This is where you'd put your SMTP server information. So that's not self-explanatory, and there's not a ton of these, but you do run into it sometimes where the setting name is different here than it is in the embedded web server. For this template, just for this showing, I just did some network enable features. So this is a common security thing people might want to do, is turn off network settings that they're not using. So what I did here is I clicked this checkbox, and by clicking this checkbox, I'm telling this template that this is settings I want to include. Okay, if I unclick it, then it's not going to include it in the template. And you'll see a small wrench appear right here, as well as here in the trees, that kind of directs you to where you've made changes, so that if you're going back to edit it later, it's easy to find where you've set settings here. Now, in some settings, you'll see little check boxes. Right now, what this is set up to do is turn off LPD printing and AirPrint. Any of these boxes that have the little tiny black square in the middle are going to be ignored. Okay, so if you end up seeing that somewhere else in the template, just know that this is ignored. So if FTP printing is on, it'll stay on. If it's off, it'll stay off. Okay. Again, you set up your template however you want to here, and then you'll click Next. It'll give you a summary of what you've done, and then you click Save, okay? And you can click Done. Once you've set this up, then you can right-click on it and click Apply, and it'll bring you to a page that asks you to apply a template. So I will say that I want to use the network settings template. We can schedule the configurations similar to how we can do schedule other things, and I'll show you that in a second. We decide what kind of devices we want to add, or if I have groups of devices, I can add those in. So I'm just going to do this for my 527 right now. Here's my schedule. I'm going to say I want to do it right now, and I'm going to create this schedule. Okay. So if I want to do this over and over, I want to keep my devices up to date, I can set that schedule to go once a week or once a month or something like that, and then that schedule will continually push that template out on that regular basis. So for security settings, that's a common thing to want to do. So I got a success indicator, and then if I refresh this, we should see the LPD and AirPrint got turned off for that template. So it worked, we were successful, everybody's happy. So that's how you create and apply a configuration template with WebJet Admin.